Today is a really big moment for not only just Morgan, but for the team of designers and engineers and craftsmen here that over the last several years have been imagining what a new flagship product could look like. In 2018, we said goodbye to the Aero family of cars. The Aero was our more contemporary, performance-orientated vehicle at the top of the range. So for some years, we've been imagining what a new body, a new shape could look like on top of our CX platform. And what started off primarily as a styling and as a visual study has gradually evolved to become a fundamental ground-up redesign. There's obviously some consistency with Morgan, which we're all very proud of. Every car we build is fundamentally very lightweight, it's entirely handcrafted, and it sits on top of a very modern platform. The focus for any Morgan is to offer a really unique and exciting driving experience. So Morgan Coach build their cars. Essentially what that means is that we create a handcrafted body on top of a very modern platform beneath. The body is structurally independent to the platform. So there's two entities that we need to consider. With Supersport, we totally reinvented that platform. It still uses a bonded aluminium chassis structure, but all of the geometry has been totally redesigned. There's a great deal more inherent chassis in the structure, and all of the corner geometry has been changed to give much more on-road compliance, the ability to put the power down much sooner. That means essentially we end up with a much faster car. So for us as designers and engineers, we have to consider aerodynamics, the body structure, and all of the finishing and detailing. One of the biggest influences on vehicles design is its aerodynamics. And very early on, we realized by lifting volumes up behind the front wheels and the rear wheels, not only do we control the way the air detaches from the surface, we also create this more theatrical, elongated proportion. We then took an attitude towards celebrating all of the engineering function and all of the craftsmanship within the aesthetic of the car. The way the vents are positioned is where they need to be. They're not placed there as decoration. And there's very much an honesty to our approach in everything we've done. With modern day requirements for legislation, and of course with modern day requirements for performance and for safety, Morgan, like any other company, embraces modern technology. It's something we actively pursue to deliver within our cars. However, for us and for the team here, we don't want the primary focus to be the technology. When you get into a Morgan, you're not dazzled by a large LCD screen. You have beautiful handmade dials that look almost like watch faces, but the technology is all there. It's hidden technology. You're able to appreciate the materials, the leather, the environment, but when you want to connect your phone, listen to music, take phone calls, it's all there and available to you. We do want to communicate some of that technology in the overall visual of the car, though. But rather than blending some of their old craftsmanship and the traditional techniques with this modern technology and risking becoming somewhat pastiche, we like to celebrate both. So you'll see on Supersport, it's sat on top of visibly technical underpinnings. The front splitter, the diffuser, the side sills, they're all serving a real purpose, and we're celebrating that. But on top, we've lightly draped this aluminium body. It really is a joy designing at Morgan. What I like most is that we're not isolated in a white studio somewhere. We spend most of our time on the shop floor working with the guys that are hand building these cars. And the art of the possible, what they discover in their craft, always directly influences the design. And every day there's a new idea or something new to experiment with. What we try to do with all of our cars, whether that's the Super 3 or the Plus 4 or the new Supersport or other things on our drawing board for future, is always just consider that principle of driving joy in everything we do, the way we work together, but also when you drive a Morgan. And actually, even before you drive a Morgan, you tailor your car to your own exacting specification. And we spend a long time with customers working out exactly how they want their car to be presented. All of these aspects together ensure that every Morgan is exciting and ultimately fun to drive. And I do believe we've got a lot more flexibility in design than some people might consider.
So the unveiling of the Supersport today is a really defining point for Morgan. So this is a car that we've invested heavily in over the last few years, and it sets us on a trajectory for future growth. And it's also for us to show the world that you can still build a relevant and modern car in 2025 using hand-built, coach-built techniques. The reason why this is such a defining moment for Morgan is that this is our first flagship for 25 years. So this is really putting Morgan back on the map. And for the UK industry wide, it's an opportunity to show how craftsmanship and coach building is still relevant in 2025. So Morgan balances its legacy with embracing innovation and sustainability. So for us, we use traditional methods of manufacture that in themselves and the materials that we're using are inherently sustainable. But also we embrace the coach building aspects and nature of building cars, and we infuse technology to make them more usable in 2025. So Morgan is evolving to compete on a global scale by enhancing all the technologies that are required by legislation all around the world, but we're still building the cars in the traditional way, building them by hand bespoke for every customer. This year, we see the most growth potential in the USA. So at the end of last year, we got homologated for the Plus 4 across the United States, and demand has been really, really strong in the first few months. So with the uncertainty around the ICE ban in the UK, it makes things really difficult for small manufacturers to map out their future. So what we're really looking for as manufacturers, particularly small manufacturers, is some certainty so we know how to plan our budgets and how to plan our spending going forward. So when we look at policy going forward, it's really, really critical for us that we time introduction of new technology, such as electrified powertrains, in a way that small manufacturers like ourselves can accommodate them. So for us, that means allowing the larger manufacturers in the world to introduce that technology and then subsequently for us to be on a timeline that lags that by a few years. So with the Supersport, we want to make the most usable and the most dynamic vehicle that we've ever built in our history. So for us, it's really, really important that the cars can be used all year round, which is a marked difference because Morgan has historically been used more so over the summer. So this is a car that is designed to be used throughout the year.